Lifeboat. Alrighty, folks. Bear with me. You know the drill. I am doing that voodoo that I do. There we go. I'm going old school again today. As I told everybody yesterday, Mark is dealing with the loss of a very close family friend. And for that reason, we are going to be doing this old school style without the back office, so to speak. So, as you know, when I go old school, we break down the rules. And the rules go something like this. We don't want there to be any politics. No room for it here. Doesn't matter whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent. It doesn't matter if you're talking about politics from another country. Politics tend to get people arguing. We don't have any room for that here on the Lifeboat, so no politics. You can talk about religion. You can say you're praying for somebody. God helped you. You wouldn't have gotten through something without the grace of God. What you can't do is argue about whether or not your God is better than someone else's God, or debate how someone gets into heaven, or tell someone that they're not getting to heaven and why. None of that. There's no room for that here. Please control your language. No cursing in the comment section. It just makes us go back and get rid of it, and there's no point. We would like to look like a fairly distinguished crew, right? Let's keep our tongue civil, people. And then lastly, on that same note, I want to make sure that we're nice to one another. It's one of the defining characteristics of people on the boat. I'm sorry, this tripod has been squirreled. One of the characteristics of the people on the boat is that we are a kinder and a gentler group of people, and we would like to stay that way. I think that I've got the tripod set up now. Huh? How do we look? So we're going to try to keep this friendly, right? Let's stick to that. It's worked well before. Thank you so much, Flamin' Jackson on the 5x5. I appreciate you. If you saw the thumbnail today, it said something about whether or not to engage or to avoid. There's a very popular expression that people use these days about recovery, and it's called emotional recovery or emotional sobriety. And it refers to the tools that we talk about here all the time, and what it means to be able to cope with the things that life are going to throw at you once you're sober. You're going to have to ride the ups and downs of life and try to navigate that without falling back to old patterns and using drugs as a way to cope. There's a couple of issues with that as a concept. And one of them is that when people first get sober, you hear a lot of expressions like "keep it simple, stupid," right? KISS. First things first. First things first. It's a cliche that they use a lot in recovery. And what it means is first don't drink, right? Or first don't do drugs, and then you can worry about all of those other things later. Well, that kind of contradicts the concept of emotional recovery, because in order to live emotional recovery and be successful, DJ Daddy-O, good to see you, Mr. T. I'm glad that you're here. Really appreciate it. Always good to see Mr. T here. People, if you're going to engage and you're going to live your best life, it means dealing with the situations as they come up, right? We always say that if you bottle things up or if you avoid things and you don't deal with something, that it's going to come and get you later down the road, right? However, when you first stop drinking, one of the things that they're telling you to do is absolutely avoid any kind of situation like that. And it's a contradiction that starts to overlap. And the more that recovery begins to evolve, and the more that recovery gets out of the sort of the shadows and into the light, right? The more people who are getting sober, and the more people who are beginning to talk about these issues, the more that these things start to come up and people start studying them. And now there have been some studies done that are kind of fascinating. And one of the things that we say, and you hear people say it, whether it's in recovery or in regular life, by not dealing with something, you're going to pay for it later. As it turns out, that may not be the case. Some studies have recently been done with groups of individuals where they put them into high stress situations and they give them the opportunity to deal with things in one of two ways. And one is to engage in it, and the other is simply to avoid it. And by avoiding it, can someone overthink sobriety and just make it more complicated? Tell you what, stick around and we'll answer that at the end. I'd kind of like to, sort of famous for squirreling off in different directions. So I'd kind of like to stay on the subject matter at some level and and try to get through this thing without, ducking down too many rabbit holes. But this new concept, people, is that sometimes you're better off simply not engaging. Sometimes you're better off. I had a sneaky suspicion on that one right there, people. I know who that is by name. As soon as I read it, I thought, oh, I know who that is. And it's funny, people, just so you know, so if you see this and you're thinking, oh, why did that happen? These are questions that are designed by a cat solely for the purpose of tripping me up. Whatever I answer that question with, he's got one in the pipe to come back and say something funny about it so that he can make the captain look stupid, right? And yeah, it's fun. It is what it is. It's part of the landscape of the boat these days. Kiss Freak. Always glad you're here. Seventh Son, I'm glad that you're here as well. Flaming Jackson, Stacy Michaels, let's see who else we got on here. Miss V, good to see you. Leisure Beast, always a pleasure. Tracy, take a seat. Stacy Michaels. All right, we got the whole crew. Mark Wages, good to see you, Mark. 40-foot Garbage Man. Yeah, we got everybody here, I think. A lot of us, anyway. All right, people, so Charlie Mullins, glad that you're here. So the question becomes whether or not to engage. Whether or not to take what's coming down the pike and try to deal with it. There's a couple of different ways that we can deal. One way is to stop thinking about whatever it is that's bothering you. It's called avoidance. And believe it or not, there's a lot of literature and a lot of studies being done right now that says avoidance is not such a bad thing, especially in the first few years of sobriety. And we kind of touched on this, and people in the comment section weigh in on it all the time. It's one of those situations where you just say, you know what, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm walking away. I'm getting away from this situation. Pure, unadulterated avoidance. I'm not going to cope with it. The other method is where you engage with whatever it is that's bothering you. And in the process of engaging in whatever it is that bothers you, you redirect. This is kind of what we were talking about the last, 3 or 4 videos back. We talked about, when you start stressing out, one of the things that you need is perspective. And in theory, engagement is the ability for one to change one's perspective without any help. Does that make sense? It's you find yourself in a situation and you go, all right, you know what? This is ridiculous, and here's why. I'm stressing out about this, and I shouldn't, and here's what, it could mean this, it could mean that, and you redirect your own mind. You engage in what it is that you're thinking about. I made it for a while here and there between shelters. Okay, I'm sorry. So what happens is you're engaging in your own mind, and you are changing your perspective on whatever the situation is. Some people might call it coping skills, because truthfully and honestly, that's what it is. And they have discovered recently that this is one of two things. It's a learned behavior for people who have spent a lot of their life drugging or drinking or putting their emotions, under sedation. These techniques need to be learned. There are people for whom these techniques are just human nature. They're people that when something bad starts to happen to them, they're able to go, you know what, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to evaluate the situation that's going on, I'm going to change my perspective, and I am going to walk away with a different frame of mind and a different frame of emotion, which is really what the key is. Because when you talk about living a sober life, your options are learning how to change your emotional status as it as it relates to whatever's going on in your life. Each stressor that comes down, you have the ability to evaluate the stressor, change what's going on in your mind, and boom, kind of move forward with it. You understand? The other option is white knuckle. You can white knuckle through it, right? Things are bad. I feel like I'm going to go completely insane, but I'm not going to use for the next 6 hours until this kind of blows over. It's no way to live. So this emotional sobriety, this emotional recovery is learning how to cope with the things that come down the pike as they come down. Mark talked about speed bumps, right? They're all speed bumps, unless they're not. And what makes something not a speed bump is not the severity of it, I promise you, because there are people out there who get terminal diagnoses and then don't go back and use. They decide that they're going to ride out the rest of their time on this planet with their brain firing on all cylinders so that they can at least feel like they are experiencing life for however much time they have left. You understand? There are people for whom, no matter what the speed bump is, no matter how big it is, no matter how bad it seems, it's just a speed bump. Because you're always, we talk about this a lot, but you always are going to have a situation, and 5% of that situation is going to be what happens, and 95% of that situation is going to be how you respond to it, how you react to it. So engagement, right? Taking the situation, the stressor, the problem, whatever it is, and evaluating it, changing how you view what it is that's driving you to drink or to drug or to feel like you're going to relapse. It really becomes a skill that if you can master, you're going to be able to live your best life. People who are not addicted seem to be born with this skill. People who become addicted to substances have to go out and learn this. That's just simply the way that it is. Hold on 1 second, people. Yeah, I believe that today is the sobriety day for Miss V. It's a celebration day, and so it should be the same for Seventh Son, if I'm not mistaken. Proud of both of you. I really am. Absolutely proud of both of you. And you know what? It is a daily fight to get to every one of those accomplishments. And what I'm talking about right now is things that you had to do in order to get where you're at. And I know that it's difficult. People, if it wasn't difficult, I'd be eating peppers, right? There wouldn't be a need for this kind of a environment where we can all get together and talk about the things that are driving us out of our comfort zone to the level that we want to go and maybe go back to what we know best, which is not dealing with the things that come down the pike at us, and not dealing with it, not by avoidance, which is legit. Saying, I'm not going to deal with this right now, man. I'm shutting down. This is not, today I am not prepared to deal with what's coming. I'm just not going to do it. T. Prada, good to see you. That's legitimate. It is. And more, there are psychiatrists and psychologists who are, Pepper's Kentucky Living, good to see you, who are recommending avoidance. But it's not an either or. Right? This is something that people have been talking about for years, and they really try to say, well, you're either going to be one of those engagement people or you're going to be one of those avoidance people. Avoidance people kind of go with the mindset of, I only got to get through today. It's usually the mindset that you have when you first stop drinking or drugging, right? I just got to get through the next 24 hours, man. I am going to get through the next 24 hours. And if something comes up, I'm just going to go back to the simplicity of, I just got to not drink. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm just not going to drink. I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to do the important stuff first. And the important stuff is to not use. That's a legit concept. The other school of thought is that you're going to take every one of these problems head on. And it doesn't mean you're going to solve them, right? Because there are problems that we're not going to solve. There are things that in this life that we're never going to get to a solution for. What it means as opposed to fixing the problem is fixing the mindset of how you react to the problem. That's the engagement model. versus the avoidance model. However, the best possible case scenario is both. Follow me? The best possible case scenario is both. And depending on the severity of the trigger, and I'm not using trigger the way other people necessarily do, right? There are things that trigger us to want to use. Doesn't mean that when it happens, that's it. Boy, I'm done. You know what I mean? This came up, it's time to drink. But there are things that trigger us in our mind to make us want to use, right? When those triggers come up, we go through a decision process of exactly how we're going to deal with it, right? Give you a perfect example. Let's say you are divorced and you have children. So there's a split custody, a joint custody kind of a situation. So on a regular basis, you have to deal with someone who you didn't get along well enough to stay married to. It caused divorce. Now, very oftentimes when that happens, and you're dealing with a joint custody thing, the ex views you as a degenerate alcoholic or drug addict. And every time there's any communication between you and the ex, that's how it starts. With that mindset of that woman or that man just thinking, oh, I got to deal with this drug addict. That kind of stress level of having to deal with those people that's one of those things that can act like a trigger, right? They've left you 15 messages talking about how, you didn't do something right the last time and this and that. So boom, this comes down the pike. You've got two choices. The first of that choice is you're going to take this head on, right? You're going to engage your mind on this particular subject matter. And very often, in a situation like this, you have to, right? If you avoid it and you don't talk to the person or whatever, it probably makes the situation worse. So you either engage, where you say, all right, look, I've got to deal with this person. At one time, I was in love with her. The least I can do is try to be, nice. And let's be honest, her memories of me are not the person that I am today. So I probably should just get on the phone and be as nice as possible, apologize for whatever it is that I have done wrong, and see if I can't smooth this over. That's engaging. That's looking at the situation and saying, this ain't that bad. I can get over this. I can get through this. It's not going to drive me to drink. If you can't engage that situation because it's going to make you mental or it's going to drive you to drink or drug, then you avoid it. Maybe you avoid it for an hour. Maybe you avoid it for 2 hours. Maybe you avoid it for an entire day. But when you're feeling like it's the trigger that's going to lead you in a direction that is completely unhealthy, you just go, you know what? Not right now. And you take your mind, and we've established that the mind can't do two things at once, right? So if you're obsessing about this and it's driving you completely insane, change what you're thinking about. Change it. Our brain changes subject matter 60,000 times on average a day. 60,000 individual thoughts a day. You know what that should tell you? That it doesn't take a whole lot to change from one thought to the next. If you can pop off 60,000 of them in a day, this is not a huge struggle to change whatever it is you're thinking about. Like that. It's just a matter of making a conscious decision to do it. Because although our brain jumps from thing to thing with the frequency of a cheap ham radio, nevertheless, you have to make a conscious decision to do that because it is also very, very easy. Just stopping in to give positive vibes. Jimmy Pickles, I love it. Really appreciate you. Anytime you stop by to give positive vibes, we're glad that you're here. Truthfully, that's awesome. And I saw the Chili Mancer was talking about you in a post here recently. One of my favorite people. He was saying some nice things about you, Jimmy. So always a pleasure to have you stopping by. So the avoidance people, I don't want you to cloud this in your head and think that avoidance means I'm not going to deal with this. What it means is that if you're beginning to obsess, as opposed to sitting and trying to figure out how to get yourself to view this situation differently, you simply change what you're thinking about. Keep in mind that all of this, everything that we talk about, is just to get you through that. It's to get you through that period of time where you feel like you're not going to make it. This is a day-to-day battle, right? This is a day-to-day battle trying to stay sober. So when you feel like you're going to lose it, I'm sorry. Yeah, when you feel like you're going to lose it, these are techniques that you need to work on just to get you through that phase, to get you through that hour or that 2 hours or that 4 hours or whatever it is. And everybody in recovery knows what I'm talking about. There's that period where all of a sudden you go from upset to angry to romanticizing to, boy, would I like to get high. What you need to do is design your day in such a way that you're either able to look at a situation in a different way, right? Or simply change the subject. This may sound super rudimentary, but to a lot of people, it's not. To a lot of people in recovery, when things start going bad, they become a snowball really, really quickly. And they begin to pick up momentum. The reason that you can't obsess people, the reason that you can't allow these trigger moments to last and to obsess is because as opposed to just sitting there and going, oh man, she drives me completely insane. You know, I'm dealing with the kids thing and dealing with the visitation. Within 5 minutes, your brain is going to find something else to throw into that mix. Honestly, it drives me absolutely insane, and the car needs a damn tune-up, and I don't have the money for it. It'll go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. Ants. Automatic negative thoughts will start kicking in, and you will start that slide that so oftentimes ends up in the screw-its. And you all know what I'm talking about. You know, where you keep sitting there and gritting your teeth and getting angrier and angrier until you go, you know what, screw it. Screw it. And you drink that beer, or you call the dope man and you just say, that's it, I'm going to forget about it today, and I'm going to do that by getting high. And number one, obviously, it never solves the problem. But number two, it starts the entire process over again. Now you've got guilt. Now you've got all of these things. So if you're going to make emotional recovery work for you, then what you need to do is assemble, like we've said so many times, you need to assemble a toolbox. You need to assemble a way to deal with the emotional struggles that are our day-to-day existence. It's all about what you decide to focus on. There are good and there are bad things that happen every day. Jesse, you're absolutely right. And what he's talking about is avoidance of the two different methods. If you choose to focus on something else other than what is driving you insane, that's avoidance. If you choose to focus on exactly what's driving you insane, but change out your perspective on it, that's engagement. Both of them are completely legitimate. And you don't want to get to a point in life where you live with one or the other. You really want to get to a point in life where you live with both. For me, I always lead with engagement. If something is driving me insane, the first thing I want to do is see if I can't figure out a solution to it. But if I can't figure out a solution, and by solution, I just mean getting my mind to look at this in a completely different way. Because a solution doesn't mean I'm going to fix things with the ex-wife and we're going to be best of friends and this visitation thing is going to be great. Fixing it means I'm not going to allow this to drive me insane to the point where I go use drugs. That's what that means. A positive always comes out of a negative if you stay positive. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. Truthfully, I was talking to someone today, and if they end up watching this, they're going to, I don't want to bum anybody out. I'm not going to use anyone's name. But they were talking about a situation, and it was medically related. And the individual said, turned out to be the worst possible case scenario. What, the doctor gave you 6 months to live? No. Well, that isn't what the doctor said. But in this person's mind, whatever was just said was the worst possible case scenario. People, the worst possible case scenario was never what we think it is. We say things like this all the time. Oh man, worst case scenario. No. The worst case scenario at a doctor's office, they tell you you're going to die. That's the worst case scenario. They say to you, what you have is not treatable and you're going to be dead in 6 months or 3 months, or the end of the week, right? That's the worst case scenario. Everything else is just something that needs a different change of perspective. Honestly. And, Jesse nailed it. There's enough patient thing in the ex-wife. If I can't make that situation stop bothering me, focus on something else in the day that's going great. And when you get yourself back to a really good mindset, then go back and visit the fact that this visitation thing is driving you nuts. You understand? These are the tools that we talk about when we say that staying sober is about assembling a toolbox and a way that you can deal with the things that happen on a day-to-day basis. Any single trick that you can come up with. Now, if you go the engagement route and you try to take a situation and look at it from a different perspective so that it's not pulling the triggers and driving you insane, if you can't make that happen, call somebody. This is what group is for. You call somebody and you say, let me tell you what's going on in my life. I feel like I'm going insane and here's why. They will give you the perspective that your brain was unable to do for yourself. I promise you, it happens all of the time. Miss V says, you guys help me so much. I appreciate you all. Well, and you know what? You've got plenty to celebrate, people. Miss V is having a great day. This is, I believe you said 1 year of sobriety from alcohol. Is that correct? And it was 3 months without cannabis. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that that's what you said. Either of those is an amazing accomplishment. Both of them is reasons to pump your fist in the air, give a big clap. Ben Genetics, good to see you, brother. Always good to see you, man. I'm glad that you're here. We're keeping you in our thoughts and prayers, man. We really are. I'm glad that you're here. Hold on one moment here. Okay, sorry, people. But yeah, that's... or however long that 7th says. Yes, I know you guys share a sobriety date, which is very cool too. It's awesome that the two of you can come and celebrate that together. I'm sorry, people, but you know how it is. I've got a text that's coming. I just got to nail this out here really, really quickly. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Regardless of the exact day, I believe it was 3 months. And you know what? Every once in a while, if I take the time to... Yep, you betcha. All right, people. I'm going to have to shut down one device. So, you talk about old school for the next, 3 to 5 minutes while this reboots itself. I will not be able to read any of the comments that you people are saying. But we talk about how this is a place that we come to celebrate all of our victories. And we own our past, we own our mistakes, but we celebrate our victories. And we talked the other day about how celebrating is a day-to-day occurrence. Every day there's something to celebrate in recovery. Just the fact that you get up and that you're fighting the good fight is reason enough. 110 days. Well played. 110 days is huge. See, I can see it, but it's very, very little because it's actually on the camera screen. But yeah. I'm sorry, people. But this is what happens when we go old school. Insert your favorite Tommy Big Fat Finger joke here. That's, people, I'm having bad internet problems. So bear with me one moment. It's just so that, I could do this without interacting with you, but that's no fun. There we go. Now we're back on here. Yeah, Seventh Son and Cemetery. All three of you are on the same day. Is that correct? That is amazing. That really is. What are the odds? Especially considering that it's a crew that's here so often. It's amazing that you all of you celebrate the same sobriety date. But that's very, very cool. That really is. Need the glasses. Yeah. The thing with the glasses, I know I do a lot of squinting. One of the reasons is, people, can I get a 5x5? You can still see me, correct? I had 2 people now text me and tell me that the feed has been dropped. But seems to me that I'm still here. Ask Fiona. You're not allowed to make... Fiona said you can't make jokes about IT Tommy. Well, you don't want to mess with Fiona. Probably... I didn't see her here today, so if you want to clown on me, you could probably get away with it today. I don't think that we've got Lady Crispin with us today, so you can pick on me today. But yeah, you might not want to do it when she's around. I don't know that I would want her angry at me. It froze for a sec on your end, but 5x5 now. Okay, good. Apparently, I'm freezing on a lot of people. I got a whole host of people that are texting me, but T Prada gave me a 5x5. Stacey Michaels. Okay, good. Mark was here earlier, Arizona Raven. So here's the thing with Mark. It's more than anything else, what Mark is doing right now is supporting a very close friend. I don't want to get into the entire story because it's Mark's to tell. But what it boils down to is that one of his best friends lost somebody as close to them as you could possibly be, immediate family, in the very difficult circumstances. I'm always watching. Lady Crispin, I'll be darned. There she is. Well, it's a good thing you didn't say anything, Seventh Son. So what Mark has been doing is helping the family of the deceased cope and make all of the difficult arrangements that one has to deal with after a tragedy like this. And that's what that's where Mark currently is. I'm sorry, people. Having a difficult time breathing. But so that's what's going on with Mark. I'm hoping that he will be back tomorrow. Just doing mom things, but listening and observing. We don't use the L word anymore. You are listening and observing. The L word has terrible connotations. I am having a difficult time breathing, unfortunately, and it's been, I don't know, it's in the air currently in Nevada, but poor Mark, he's been through a lot the last couple of years. I agree. Last couple of years, Mark's been through a ludicrous amount just in the last couple of weeks. The last couple of months, he's been having a very difficult run, and it's it's something that we come and we talk about sobriety, and we talk about the tools necessary to live your best life, and to take what we talk about and apply it to life. And Mark does that. He's in a unique position to talk about how he's using these tools, because let's be honest, he's had a rough run here, and he's been able to do it sober and maintain what is now closing in on 11 years without going back and using opiates, which is, that's amazing stuff under the best of circumstances. And as you pointed out, these really have not been the best of circumstances. He's really been going through it. And as I said yesterday, people, hoping to have a couple of surprises this week. There's some interviews in the works that I'm really hoping to get done before Friday. Oh, people, I'm sorry. Somebody just sent me a funny meme. Things that I'm really hoping to get done before the weekend. But stick around because these are going to be fun. There's a lot of interviews coming up right before December, when we kind of went away for a while here on YouTube. We were focusing, really kind of trying to focus on bringing people on and interviewing people and telling the stories of the individuals on the boat. And we were doing great with it. We really were. Then, a couple of things came down that made us, make some changes. And now that we're back, we're going to start moving back into that direction, because it really is it's a cool thing for everybody on the boat to get to know the the other people on the boat with them. I'm sorry, people. You know what? I heard Vegemite was Australia's version of Soylent Green. If you don't know what Soylent Green is, then you missed that joke, because that's really funny. People, one moment, please. Talk amongst yourselves. Bent genetics. A good thing about prayers are they never limit you to 3 or 4. You can pretty much throw out as many as you want. And if it's all the same with you, I'm going to keep praying for you, bud. And my heart goes out to you, bud. It really does. Thought you were a nice person, Cemetery 76. Right? I thought he was a nice person too. And then he pops off with the Vegemite sandwiches for everybody. What is that all about? That simply can't have it. There you go. I know. I grew up in the 70s. I remember the movie. Really, Charlton Heston, wasn't it? Soylent Green. What is Soylent? Yeah, I think it was Charlton Heston. But there may be some truth to that. For those of you who have enjoyed the yeast spread, just yucky goodness that is... it was Charlton Heston. Good, I thought so. You've heard of it, but you've never watched it. Well, you probably haven't tasted it either, unless you did the whole Vegemite thing. But I would assume that if Soylent Green is not Vegemite and vice versa, it certainly tastes like that. Yes, Seventh Son. You got it. Yeah, so we were talking about Mark. The last correspondence that he and I had, which was before going live today, he said that they were ironing out the last of the details of the funeral and things like that, and he's doing wonders for a person that very badly needs it right now. There's a person that is taking this death really, really hard, and when you hear the whole story, you'll understand why. It's the death of a child. It's somebody's kid that passed, and you hear people say it all the time. You should always outlive your kid should always outlive you. I don't think there's anything more painful, in this world. Thank the Lord, I don't know from experience, but to lose, your kid has just got to be the worst thing in the world, and that's what this individual is unfortunately coping with. And on the bright side, he's got Mark there, which is a huge blessing, because Mark is he's a loving guy, and he's there to help out, and that's a beautiful thing. So he can take as long as he needs. I'm so happy to see you tonight, Captain and crew. Good evening, all. You know what, M. Hunt? I was talking about you yesterday after the live feed. I got a just a warm and fuzzy feeling yesterday from some of the comments that you left in the comment section yesterday. Just were, I don't know, like I alluded to a little yesterday. You and I sent some correspondence back and forth, and you've been, with the crew for a long time, but there's been a change in you that, and I'm not the only person to have noticed it, but it's awesome. And yesterday was just a really great example of that. And it, as soon as the live feed was over, I was talking about it with a close friend of mine, and it's just, I'm really happy where you're at. I really am, and it amazingly too, because I know that things have been difficult, especially with the tragedy that just happened. But you've maintained a really amazing. You're on more even a keel now than I've ever seen you, in spite of everything that's going on, and that's beautiful stuff. Just because it's good for you doesn't mean you should eat it, Flaming. Jesse Brown sums it up. You know what I mean? If kitty litter was good for you, would you eat it? Right? Because I would not subject Squirrel to using Vegemite as kitty litter. I care for this cat far too much for that. Truthfully. But no, you know what, people? I mean, I joke about it a lot, but the only reason really that I pick on Vegemite so much is because it really does taste that awful. It's just awful. I'm so very grateful for what you do. Never stop, never quit. Thanks, M. Hunt. You know what? This is therapy for me, as much as it's whatever people get out of what we do. It's just as much therapy for me as it is for everybody else. I think that if I were to stop doing the lifeboat, I would probably be in trouble. And in terms of my sobriety, every day every day that I do this, it reinforces, what it is that I'm trying to do. See, look at that, M. Hunt, and he was doing just great. He was zipping along, and life was good. And now we've done too much Vegemite talk, and the man is freaked out. Greta, thank you so much. People, I'm still having a stroke. I don't know what it is. Usually the inhaler will knock it out. It's Australian peanut butter. It's Australia yeast butter. We know the Australians aren't right anyway. I mean, with all due respect, I love the Australian people. I really do, but they're a little, they're not quite right. It's probably because everything in the country can kill you. So why would they use peanut butter, which is tasty? They had to get a spread that tastes like it will kill you. It sort of jives with everything there. Yeast butter, ew. Yeah, exactly. But that really is what it is. I've heard people say that it came from the the bottom of a vat when they were making brew of some kind. But I know that it's really heavy yeast. Yeast is like the main ingredient. It is the deadliest continent. There's no question. There really is no question. There are so many things in Australia that can kill you. Aside from the people. I should send some of that to my ex in prison as a care package. You know what? If they'll let it in, I'd buy it for you. Send that in to them. That would be justice. But if a person has to eat that stuff, they should at least give him, a couple of days off his sentence or something, because that's it's just not right. Charlie Mullins says, "Hey, I like it." But here's the thing. I mean, you know Charlie, right? He's been on the boat from day one. I think that Charlie is living proof, much like my brother Johnny, that if you just continue with too much capsaicin, that eventually you're going to, it does something to the taste buds. Like my brother, talks about how much, he enjoyed Vegemite. I mean, the man's been eating flame and lava and just burning hot things for so long. You can't take anything that has anything to do with my brother's taste buds and take it to heart. That just doesn't make sense. Yes, M. Hunt, if you're leaving, please do sleep well. And plasma. Okay, I missed that one. Flaming Jackson says it does taste horrible plain, but using small amounts on toast actually tastes good. Where people go wrong is when they try it the first time, they use way too much. Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Anything that tastes good this much should taste really good this much. It should taste excellent this much, right? So what you're telling me is that you like the taste of this, providing you don't put a lot of it on. That's not a good argument for the taste of anything. That, if anything, that reinforces my opinion that this stuff is just disgusting. You should be able to take, let's take peanut butter, right? You spread peanut butter on toast, you taste it, it's great. You take a spoonful of peanut butter, great, right? So why would it not be the other way? I mean, the same thing with Vegemite. It's the stuff on the bottom of a fermented wine bucket. They add clarity and all that stuff sinks to the bottom like glue. I am not going to doubt that for 1 second. I'm not going to doubt that for 1 second. I really am not. I have an army of funnel webs here at my disposal. Attack, attack, attack. Yeah. Yes. The seventh son, Tommy's favorite animal. No, I'm not a fan. Okay, keep joking. Keith Nichols likes Vegemite straight from the bottle. Again, another man that has had far too much capsaicin in his diet for too long a period of time. People, I hate to do this, but I'm going to cut this short. I am really struggling, and I don't know whether it's exactly what's going on, but I need to get some air. I'm going to be taking this show outside for a minute. I'll be all right. It's just an asthma thing, but I'm definitely having a tough time breathing, and I'm not going to stay in this room anymore. So I apologize. I will be back tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Hopefully, breathing fantastic. Real quick, guys, my sister-in-law is out of the ICU and into regular rooms. They are talking about possibly letting her come home in a day or two. That's Amy, his sister-in-law. But please keep Amy in your thoughts and prayers. She had blood clots in both lungs, so let's keep her in our thoughts and prayers so that she can come home. I will be back tomorrow at 6 o'clock, and I may have Mark with me. If not, we'll be going old school, but I will be here tomorrow at 6 o'clock, I promise. Between now and then, reach out there and try to save somebody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. This is the lifeboat. I'm not Squirrel. Good night, everybody.